Well, welcome back. I'm here with fire and life safety educator Dee Shelton from the Greensboro Fire Department. We're answering your questions about fire safety. You see the number there at the bottom of your screen, 336-379-5775. This person says, Dee, I know space heaters can be dangerous if directions are not followed. That being said, are there certain ones that are more safe than others? Like I'm talking about brands, not types, or types, not brands.
Right. So basically, with space heaters, the biggest issue is making sure that it has a tip over feature, meaning that if it tips over, it just cuts itself off. It has like a spring loaded little button in the bottom, or a sensor maybe that reads the fact that it's turned over. And so when it knows that it's flipped over, it just kills the power. And with space heaters, you always want to make sure that you're just plugging those into the outlet only, never into any power strip or extension cord or surge protector, nothing but the outlet.
Okay, so no extension cords. While we're on the subject of extension cords, we're going to be putting up all those indoor lights, all those outdoor lights, all of the strings of the lights on the Christmas tree. How many strings of lights can we put together for the tree?
Well, what I've been reading is no more than 3 strands at a time or in one plug-in. And don't overload the outlet either, because that poses a problem. You want to make sure that on the tree, when you're hooking them together, if you read the instructions on the box, 3 strands is the max. So they're plugging one end into the other. 3 of those is the max, and then plugging that into the outlet. That's it.
So you can have 6 strands of lights, but you got to put 3 together on one outlet, 3 together on another electrical outlet.
So you've got the 2 plug-ins in the receptacle. Yep, but don't do more than that because you're overloading it.
All right, let's talk about turkey fryers, because we're about to all get in on the turkey frying come next week. We've got some video that Greensboro Fire has done before where they have dipped the turkey into the fryer. The grease is spilling out all over the place, and then everything becomes engulfed in flames. And I think a lot of people think, hey, this doesn't happen, but it actually does happen. And there are certain things that cause it to happen. So can you go over a few of the things that we should or should not be doing?
So the first thing is making sure that your location is right, that you're always outside and away from anything combustible or like buildings and things. Second thing is you want to make sure that your hoses and everything are connected well and that there's no leaks. And then before you start your cooking process, like, tomorrow's a great day, put some water in there, then drop the turkey in, kind of give it a measure so that you know how much oil to put in it so that it's not overflowing, but make sure that you dry that out really well. But then make sure too that when you are putting the turkey in there, turn the gas off. You've already got the oil hot. Go ahead and turn the fuel off when you're lowering the turkey in. And then once the turkey's in there, then you can turn the fuel back on. And that way, if it does boil over, you don't have that open flame to feed it.
We just got a text that said, please remind people to try not to move a pan or pot with burning grease in it with the fire. The grease travels with the flames. I found that out the hard way.
Yes, absolutely. So continuing that cooking safety, we talked about having your lid nearby. So if you have a flash in the pan, you put the lid on it, you turn off the burner, and then just leave it. You don't have to move it, because moving it poses another risk. Maybe you would spill it on yourself or someone around you, or even if you reintroduce, if that grease is still at its ignition temperature and you reintroduce that oxygen, then you've still got the fire that you've got to deal with on top of the burns. So just leave it. If you don't feel safe, get out and dial 911.
I can actually attest to that. That happened in a house that I lived in, and the grease and the flames from the fire jumped out of the pan and then into the floor and then burned the floor. So yeah, okay. All right, this person is asking, when using a wood stove, what kind of wood do you need to use to begin the fire?
I've always heard that it's best not to use pine, just because pine creates more of a creosote. I'm not the woodsy type. I don't know much about the wood itself, other than pine does create more creosote in the chimney, that buildup that we try to keep from causing the chimney fire.
All right, let's go right to the smoke alarm. It is something that is supposed to be standard in every single house. Of course, just because there is a smoke alarm in the house doesn't mean that it works. And there are some reasons for that. There is a 10-year warranty on smoke alarms, and of course you have to check the batteries. I know you have a smoke alarm there with you so that you can kind of show folks, hey, this is where you need to look for the date.
Yes. So number one, smoke alarms should not be more than 10 years old. And on the back, in all this fine print, there's a date. Of course, different alarms look different ways, but there's a date on the back in that fine print. That date is the date that the alarm was manufactured. So you add 10 years to that. All of this information is in your manufacturer's information when you purchase the alarms. But if you just moved into a house and you didn't put the alarms in, then of course you don't have that paperwork. So just know to check the back of those for that date, and then write with a Sharpie on the front of it what the 10-year date is when you add 10 years to that. So if it says 2020, then you know in 2030 you're going to need to replace that. The other thing, of course, is if it's battery operated, make sure you're keeping the batteries refreshed.
That's right. All those batteries, they tell you to do it every time you do the, throw back for time or spring forward or whatever it is. If you haven't done that, maybe this weekend is the weekend to do that. So much we are thankful for you, Dee, for your expertise. We appreciate that.